Yellowjackets is an American thriller drama television series created by Ashley Lyle and Bart Nickerson. It stars an ensemble cast led by Sophie Nélisse, Jasmine Savoy Brown, Sophie Thatcher, Sammy Hanratty, Liv Hewson, and Courtney Eden as a group of teenagers involved in a plane crash in 1996, with Melanie Lynskey, Tawny Cypress, Juliette Lewis, Christina Ricci, Lauren Ambrose, and Simone Kessel portraying their adult counterparts. Ella Purnell, Stephen Kruger, and Warren Cole also star. The series premiered on Showtime on November 14, 2021. It received critical acclaim for its story and cast performances. Its accolades include 7 Primetime Emmy Award nominations, including Outstanding Drama Series and Acting nominations for Lynskey and Ricci. In December 2021, the series was renewed for a second season. Premise: in 1996, a team of New Jersey high school soccer players travel to Seattle for a national tournament. While flying over Canada, their plane crashes deep in the wilderness and the remaining team members are left to survive for 19 months. The series chronicles their attempts to survive while also tracking their current lives in 2021. Cast and characters: Main. Melanie Lynskey and Sophie Nélisse as the adult and teenage versions of Shauna Shipman. In high school, Shauna was best friends with Jackie and accepted to Brown University prior to the crash. As an adult, Shauna is a dissatisfied stay-at-home mom with a reckless teenage daughter and an indifferent husband. Tawny Cypress and Jasmine Savoy Brown as the adult and teenage versions of Thaisa Turner. In high school, Thaisa was focused on winning and she slide-tackled a teammate whom she thought was not good enough for nationals, breaking her leg. As an adult, she is running for the New Jersey State Senate while maintaining her relationship with her wife, Simone, and raising their young son. Ella Purnell as Jackie Taylor, the team captain of the Yellowjackets soccer team. In high school, Jackie was best friends with Shauna, who slept with Jackie's boyfriend, Jeff. Jackie has an ideal life she tries to create, which often leaves others with the short end of the stick. Stephen Kruger as Ben Scott, the assistant coach of the Yellowjackets soccer team. In the plane crash, Ben loses one of his legs. While being taken care of by Misty, Ben has to simultaneously deal with both his injury and the fact that he is the only adult who survived the crash. Warren Cole as Jeff Sadecki. In high school, Jeff was dating Jackie but was cheating on her with Shauna. As an adult, he is married to Shauna and works at his own furniture store. Christina Ricci and Sammy Hanratty as the adult and teenage versions of Misty Quigley. In high school, Misty is the team's equipment manager. She is bullied frequently, and seen as pathetic and weird. After the crash, Misty demonstrates knowledge useful for survival and becomes a leader. As an adult, she is a care facility nurse and a ruthless manipulator of others. Juliette Lewis and Sophie Thatcher as the adult and teenage versions of Natalie Nat Scattercho. In high school, Natalie was labeled a burnout as she did drugs and was antisocial. As an adult, she leaves rehab and quickly falls off the wagon. She cares little about what people think of her. Lauren Ambrose and Liv Hewson as the adult and teenage versions of Vanessa Van Palmer, the strong-willed goalie on the team who becomes Thaisa's girlfriend. Simone Kessel and Courtney Eden as the adult and teenage versions of Lottie Matthews, a player on the team who begins to experience visions when she runs out of her schizophrenia medication. Kevin Alves as the teenage version of Travis Martinez, Coach Martinez's older son. Recurring: Kaya King as Aquila, a member of the Yellowjackets soccer team who has a unique knowledge of edible plants. Jane Wadop as Laura Lee, a deeply religious Christian member of the soccer team. Alexa Barajas as Mari, a sarcastic member of the Yellowjackets soccer team. Rekha Sharma as Jessica Roberts, a woman investigating the group in 2021. Sarah Desjardins as Callie Sadecki, Jeff and Shauna's 16-year-old daughter. Rukia Bernard as Simone Abera, Teresa's wife. Peter Gadiot as Adam Martin, an artist who starts seeing Shauna after they have a minor auto collision. Alex Wyndham as Kevin Tan, Natalie's best friend before the plane crash. Elijah Wood as Walter, a dedicated citizen detective like Misty. Nuhajes Isman as Crystal, a junior varsity member and theater enthusiast. Guest. Jack Depew as the teenage version of Jeff Sadecki. Carlos Sanz as Coach Martinez, the head coach of the Yellowjackets soccer team. Pearl Amanda Dixon as the teenage version of Ali Stevens. Episodes. Production. Development. The idea for the series was largely influenced by the Donner Party and the Andes flight disaster, both true stories about people who resorted to cannibalism to survive. In August 2017, Warner Bros. Pictures announced an all-female film adaptation of William Golding's Lord of the Flies, a novel about a young group of boys stranded on an island. Ashley Lyle read the announcement and found that a lot of people were skeptical that young girls could descend into the same barbarism as young boys. With that thought in mind, she conceived the idea for the series with her husband Bart Nickerson as a metaphor for teenage hierarchy and placed a large part of the series in New Jersey, the state they both grew up in. The title, Yellowjackets, came up on a Google search for sports team names. Lyle said it was a perfect fit thematically as Yellowjackets are very dependent on a queen and the dynamics of the hive are very specific. Lyle and Nickerson are also credited as showrunners alongside Jonathan Lisco, who was brought to the series by executive producer Karen Kusama. Lyle added, "I just wanted to tell what felt like a very real story about teenage girls." Lyle and Nickerson pitched the series with a 35-minute presentation, which included talks about the first season's ending in a 5-season storyline. The series was originally going to take place in the 1970s and the 1990s, but both time periods were moved 20 years forward to make the setting more familiar to viewers. Nickerson said the use of 2 timelines allowed for the studying of interpersonal dynamics and how trauma can affect a person's life. HBO was a contender to purchase the series but ultimately rejected it, in part due to its similarities with Euphoria, one of its own properties. Lyle says the smartest question she heard during the pre-production phase was from HBO's Francesca Orsi and David Levine, who asked, "What are you trying to say with this show?" In his answer, Nickerson said the show was going to deconstruct the organizing principles of a society. Yellowjackets was eventually sold to the Mark Gordon Company, a production company owned by Entertainment One. The project was then pitched to Gary Levine, president of entertainment for Showtime Networks, who was immediately on board. On May 9, 2018, Showtime announced it had acquired the rights to the series. "When we were formulating and developing the idea, we always saw this as a multi-season story, and our goal in the first season is to very much answer certain questions, because I personally get very irritated with shows that drag everything on forever and don't give you any answers. So, we wanted to answer some questions and ask some new ones, so that is hopefully what we accomplished over the course of this season." Ashley Lyle. On December 16, 2021, after the first 5 episodes aired, the series was renewed for a second season. Levine said they had not heard the pitch for season 2, "The writer's room has not even come together yet, they are going to come together in January. I'm sure Ashley, Bart, and Jonathan have some loose ideas, but they hadn't fleshed out their ideas and they certainly haven't conveyed them to us." On February 9, 2022, Levine said the creators had always given us hints about things to come, but we haven't done a long-range plan. We wanted to make the first season count. We've all buried ourselves in that first season and worked hard to make it the success it was. They went into the writer's room and with Jonathan Lisco to start to unearth what can happen in season 2. I love that they have some general idea of a 5-year arc, but we take it one season at a time and get very granular about making it satisfying. By May 2022, the writers were just getting started on the actual scripts. Casting. The pilot episode was not written with any actresses in mind and auditions were held in Los Angeles. We decided pretty early on we weren't going to get overly focused on a physical match, Lyle mentioned. As a result, some cast members had to dye their hair and wear contact lenses to match the physical characteristics of their counterparts. Melanie Lynskey was the first person to join the cast. Lyle said the role of Shauna was the trickiest to cast because they wanted to find an actress who could embody somebody who is really trying to figure out who they are, which is kind of a tricky internal thing to express through her acting. Lynskey questioned the showrunners and extracted as much information as she could about her character's past and the 5-season storyline to improve her performance. For the role of Natalie, Nickerson said they searched for someone who was really free-spirited and unique who could play both a sort of wildness and a vulnerability. Though most of the auditions were held in person, Sophie Thatcher submitted a self-recorded audition tape and was cast as Natalie before Juliette Lewis, who portrays the character's adult counterpart. When asked if the group's survival would depend on their gender, Thatcher replied, "I think naturally, especially at such a young age, women are more emotionally intelligent. So to turn into that cannibalistic mindset, it maybe took them longer just because I think women are smarter than men. But I think that's it. Besides that, there's no difference. They're going to go batshit crazy." Nickerson said it was vital to find 2 actresses who could portray Misty with a deep kind of humanity that could make it feel lived in and real. The role was eventually given to Sammy Hanratty and Christina Ricci. On joining the cast, Hanratty said she originally auditioned for the role of Natalie before being brought back 4 times to audition for the role of Misty. "I'm not gonna lie, I was so crushed because I loved the project. They said they would keep me in mind. Then, I think it was about a week later that I got the audition for Misty, which was so exciting. Because I was like, oh, this girl is interesting as can be." To give her another chance, Lyle and Nickerson wrote a scene specifically for the casting process in which Misty confronts a teacher over cheating. After Hanratty was brought back, Lyle said it was immediate. "As soon as she read that scene for us, we said, okay, she is Misty." Hanratty described the auditions as being really intense. She did not meet any of her co-stars until the table read for the pilot. When asked if she was treated differently when in costume, she added, "I don't think we've talked about this, but I was seeing a therapist while I was in Canada, and that was something that we discussed. I was definitely treated differently. I got more self-conscious, and my walk even changed a bit. I just felt like a bigger target, you know, as a person." According to Nickerson, Jasmine Savoy Brown and Tawny Cypress were cast as Thaisa because they were both able to portray her with a level of dynamic strength as well as vulnerability and fragility. Ella Purnell portrays Jackie, a character who proved difficult to cast. Lyle said the character was supposed to be a stereotypical popular girl with little cracks of that facade. She explained, "I think that her insecurity, her vulnerabilities needed to be on display pretty early on or you'd end up hating her, and that was sort of the opposite of what we wanted the audience to feel." Lynskey, Cypress, and Brown were announced as series regulars in October 2019, with Lewis, Ricci, Purnell, Hanratty, Thatcher, and Sophie Nélisse joining the cast in November. The following month, Ava Allen, Courtney Eaton, and Liv Hewson were cast in recurring roles. In June 2021, it was reported Warren Cole, Peter Gadiot, Kaya King, Alex Wyndham, Sarah Desjardins, Kevin Alves, and Alexa Barajas would also star. Casting for the second season began in mid-2022. In August 2022, Lauren Ambrose and Simone Kessel joined the cast to play the adult versions of Van and Lottie. Their roles were also upped from recurring to series regulars. Elijah Wood and Nuha Jessisman were also added to the cast in season-long recurring guest roles, while Kevin Alves's role as teenage Travis was upped from recurring to series regular. Filming. The pilot was greenlit in September 2019 and shot in Los Angeles in November. According to location manager Jimmy Lee, several scenes from the pilot were filmed on top of the ski slopes on Mammoth Mountain. The rehab scenes were shot in a mansion located at 26848 Pacific Coast Highway, while a number of scenes set in the high school were filmed in and around John Marshall High School in Los Feliz, Los Angeles. In an interview, Linsky said the masturbation scene from the pilot represented her character's lack of boundaries. In the pilot's opening scene, a flash-forward shows a group covered in fur clothing. Hanratty was the only cast member present while the scene was shot, and the other characters were played by stunt coordinators. Hanratty says the writers have not told the cast which characters appear in that scene. We all have our theories on who that is too, and we have a group chat in our cast where we try to come up with theories ourselves of what's going on and who we think is who. In December 2020, Showtime gave Yellowjackets a series order. Filming restarted in Vancouver on May 3, 2021, and concluded in early October, with the young and older cast taking weekly turns to shoot their scenes. Aside from Vancouver, other filming locations included the Panther Paintball and Airsoft Sports Park in Surrey, which was used as the site of the plane crash, and the Bridge Studios in Burnaby. The plane crash scene took 2 days to shoot. The orgy scene from Episode 9 was organized with intimacy coordinator Catherine Cadler. Eaton described it as uncomfortable scene to shoot due to its depiction of sexual assault. In an interview, Linsky said Cypress, Ricci, and Lewis stood up for her after she was body shamed by a crew member, with Lewis writing a letter to the producers on her behalf. In November 2021, Purnell summarized the timeline of the production. Here's how it went: we shot the pilot, we took like a year and a half off in COVID, and then we went to Canada and shot the whole season in 6 months. We were in this super intense immersive bubble. We wrapped 3 weeks ago and now I'm doing a press junket. It's been crazy. Filming for the second season began in August 2022, with the first episode directed by Daisy von Schurler-Mayer. Music. The music for the pilot was composed by Theodore Shapiro. The rest of the first season was scored by Craig Wedren and Anna Waronker, members of the rock bands Shudder to Think and That Dog, respectively. Wedren was invited to the series by Kusama after the series was picked up and Shapiro was unable to return. The main theme song, No Return, was written and performed by Wedren and Waronker, who said they aimed to channel our off-kilter 90s roots into something that felt like then, but could only have been made now, just like the show. Lyle and Nickerson were initially hesitant with the idea of featuring a theme song due to their growing rarity in the mainstream, but were eventually convinced otherwise. Mother Mother by Tracy Bonham was used as the temp music for the theme, which first appears in episode 3 and features the sounds of a farfisa organ. According to Wedren, the producers really encouraged us to go out on multiple limbs and really be experimental and try stuff, which is such a rare direction to get. Lakeshore Records made No Return available to stream and download on January 6, 2022. A soundtrack album was also released on Spotify. Release. A premiere for the series was held on November 10, 2021, at the Hollywood Legion Post 43 in Los Angeles. Yellowjackets debuted on Showtime on November 14. The first season was released on DVD and manufactured on-demand Blu-ray on July 19, 2022. Reception. Critical response. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 100% of 73 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 8.1/10. The website's consensus reads, "A genre mashup that blends smoothly, Yellowjackets presents an absorbing mystery with plenty of sting." Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned a score of 78 out of 100 based on 28 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. The first 6 out of 10 episodes of the first season were given to critics to review ahead of the series premiere. Entertainment Weekly's Kristen Baldwin graded the show with a B and gave praise to the performances and its story. Yellowjackets maintains an intriguing tonal balance in early episodes. The survival timeline is pure horror, all steadily increasing dread and glimpses of grotesque violence. It helps that the flashback cast is strong enough to carry an entire drama on their own. Standouts Brown, Thatcher, and Elise are particularly adept at delivering performances that feel distinct and yet authentically echo the personas of their adult counterparts. Candice Frederick from The Wrap found the storyline to be a bit complicated. Yellowjackets can feel tiresome with the sheer frequency of all those flashbacks, and the fact that it dabbles in too many genres when it could settle on its solid mystery thriller elements. But when it commits to its chilling suspense, the show is utterly fascinating to watch. Even more, it finds compelling ways to explore issues like trauma and the facades we build for ourselves that carry from youth through adulthood, elevating what would otherwise be a much flatter genre piece. Writing for Rolling Stone, Alan Sepinwall gave the series 3 stars and a half out of 5 and described it as a combination of Lord of the Flies, It, Lost, Alone, and the works of Megan Abbott. Sepinwall added, "Many of its influences already overlap, and thus work together well. The ones that don't can at times combine to create something that feels new and potent, but at others make it feel like the stew could have done with fewer ingredients." Ratings. Yellowjackets is the second most streamed series in Showtime's history behind Dexter, New Blood. According to Showtime, the penultimate episode of the first season was watched by 1.41 million viewers across all platforms, while the season finale brought 1.3 million viewers across all platforms. Yellowjackets averaged more than 5 million weekly viewers, the highest for a freshman series on the network since Billions in 2016. In January 2022, Vulture's Alison Wilmore and Catherine Van Arendonk discussed Showtime's decision to release episodes weekly instead of launching the entire season on the same day, noting the positive word of mouth and time given to a viewer to theorize, in an era when shows and movies seem to barely manage to break through before being pushed aside by whatever's new, and when Netflix is so dominant that other platforms have to really fight for attention at all. Yellowjackets has sustained a conversation all while airing on Showtime.